Hello everyone, I'm Taka Awori, founder and CEO of Busara Africa, a Pan-African leadership development firm. Welcome to the Leadership in Africa Redefined podcast. This podcast seeks to do two things. One, change the narrative of leadership in Africa, and two, provide concrete strategies and tips for leading in an African context. We do this by interviewing amazing African leaders so that the narrative of leadership in Africa is defined by the best of us, not the worst of us. We share their stories and provide practical suggestions for dealing with the challenges of leading on this continent. We discuss, interrogate, and examine concrete leadership practices that work. We also look at failures that these leaders faced and how they navigated their ways back on track. It's an exciting and empowering space for leaders to thrive and engage. Subscribe to the show to become the leader you have always wanted to be. And if you like the show, be sure you rate it and review it. It helps others to find it. Thanks so much. Welcome to what is actually the final episode of season 2. We made it to the end of season 2. I can't believe we did it. So welcome our dear listeners. And I should say this is March, and March 8th is International Women's Day. So we celebrate all the women out there, and we commit to accelerating progress on women's equality and women's rights.
Yes.
But yes, so this season it's been amazing, hasn't it? And thank you again, all our amazing listeners. I tell you, we've achieved some major milestones that we're particularly excited about. Over 1,000 downloads and listeners from over 60 countries.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's been good. It's been good. So thanks again. What I think we would love to do just very briefly with this episode is just to recap, particularly if you're new to the show or you haven't watched all the episodes, just a very quick recap on what, for us, was some of the highlights.
Yes.
And as you know, we have both the episodes where we have guests come in, some amazing guests, and then we have our nuts and bolts. Yeah. But Robert, maybe I'll start with you in terms of those amazing guests we have. Who were some of your favorites? And they were all our favorites, by the way. They were all our favorites. But what were some of your key takeaways from some of the guests?
Yes. The first of all was my mentor and friend, Albert Okran.
Oh, yes.
It was
Reverend Okran.
Yes, for some of us who religion has been part of our lives for a long time.
Yeah.
Having to listen to him around leadership and religion was a very good inspiration, and how he was able to demystify between being religious and also having faith in God. You know, that distinction was good, and drawing our attention to the fact that we need to pay attention to somebody, a leader whose interest is in ensuring faith in God.
I love that.
Which was very good. And his description of governance and saying, if anybody fears governance and accountability, that person has no role in religious leadership.
Interesting.
Which was good, was very good. His examples around his church and how they do accountability with governance was a very good example that leaders can learn from. So that's for me from Albert's side.
Nice.
Good. Yes.
I know I heard you talking about how you loved that episode with BC, which I loved as well.
Yes.
Tell me what you loved about that one.
Oh, where is your rapper?
Yes. Erelu BC Fayemi.
Yes. Where is your rapper? I was so excited listening, and the example she gave about the market women and how they brought their rappers out, and the symbolism of that was so good. And this idea of solidarity among in the women fraternity, and the conversation around, she mentioned something that was interesting. She called something feminist emotional intelligence. I've never heard that. Maybe we are now learning, and the way she described it was that this is when women have a sense of supporting each other, and they are instinctive. So how she saw the thing happening in the market where a lady was in labor, and then everybody came around to support, and they brought their wrappers to cover to create a screen so that she can have privacy. Instinctively, they didn't think about it. It was just something that they just thought we should just do, which was so good to learn. But I loved it, and hearing her was so good.
It was a good one.
Yes.
Listeners, if you haven't heard those two, definitely make sure you've missed those ones, you catch them. Let me share two that really struck me. There was the one that I did with Korea Dodu. Remember, we called him my brother. I called him we titled it The Accidental Feminist.
Yeah.
And if for those who listen to it, if you recall, Korea is running a leading law firm here in Ghana. But why we called him the accidental feminist is that he shared on that episode how before starting his own firm, he was working in a leading law firm in the UK, and that some of the people who really shaped the way he leads now were these amazing women partners in those law firm, in that particular law firm. And to me, the lesson I realized was that many times we talk about women's leadership and the importance of it in terms of role modeling for other women. But I realized from his example, it's not just role modeling for other women, but it's for many others, including men.
Exactly.
For them to see that actually you can have amazing women leaders, but also in terms of what a standard of good leadership looks like. So I really loved that he gave that example. But what I'll also say I really appreciated about that conversation with him is that he really strongly made the case for why, yes, having women in these key roles is, it's a right in of itself. And this is key as we talk about International Women's Day. Yeah? But also he made the case as to why it's good for business.
Yeah.
And he also talked about emotional intelligence. He talked about how the legal profession can be quite combative. And he says, but sometimes women come in with learned emotional intelligence because of gender norms that can be so useful in the space. So that was a nice one for me. Yeah? Before I hand back to you, tell you some of the ones. Another one that really struck me was the one I did with Fatoumata Doro. If you remember her, she was the former MD for Vlisco. And you could see I was so into that episode because the whole time she's talking, I'm like, if you just see my reactions, people, you will know how much I was into that conversation. And now I refer to Fatoumata as my organizational transformation guru.
Oh, wow.
Because if you remember in that episode, she talked about some of the company turnarounds, like with Arlanda Foods, some amazing things that she had done. Arla Foods, sorry, I think that's what they call that company. And I think the very concrete lessons she derived from those really tough company transformations are just amazing. So if you're working through a difficult change process within your organization or company, you must listen to that episode if you haven't done so already, or listen again if you have done so. What were some others for you?
Depros, who is my former boss and colleague in Amnesty. I loved his episode, especially in these gloomy times. If you're going through a hard time in this time with this kind of political leadership that is happening in the continent, and you want something to listen to that will be hopeful and give you some inspiration, you should listen to that episode, because he talks about how gloomy the world looks, but how there is hope. The idea that we need to look and see a light at the end of the tunnel. We need to see through the darkness, that new leadership is arising. New leadership around, you see the protests in Kenya and all of that. The new people are coming up who are showing a difference and calling for justice. And I think that was a good lesson that I learned from Depros on his work and how the political leadership can change if we start looking at what can be better in this world. And I loved it.
You're so right. That one really did strike me. And because Depros has such a depth of experience across the world, across the continent and the world, I really appreciated how he was able to bring very concrete examples of how leadership is beginning to shift on the continent. Because the narrative, not just on the continent, but globally with everything that's happening, is not positive. And so these examples, just as you said, are really. So again, if you miss that one, do catch that one. Hi folks, hope you're enjoying the show. So have you heard about the Africa Leaders Circle? Our impactful e-learning platform that enables you to grow into the leader you would want to follow? Here is a message to tell you what you need to know.
Are you a CEO, executive director, or HR manager that is looking to build a pipeline of leaders that are ready to step up into management roles? Are you looking for a self-paced learning platform that provides your leaders with quality content and does not take them away from their work for too long? Are you looking for a program that enables your managers to move from knowledge acquisition to demonstrable improved practice? Then look no further. Sign them up for the African Leaders Circle today. The African Leaders Circle is an e-learning platform that gives your managers access to an exclusive community of leaders across the continent and a wide range of strategies and tools to stand out. We do this through online courses, discussion forums, a library of resources, and a personal learning advisor to support each of your managers to maximize their learning on the platform. To learn more, visit our website www.busara-africa.com.
Don't forget to visit our website busara-africa.com to learn more. And now back to the show. Any others?
So, Umrah.
One of the first we did.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
My sister Umrah, yes, in Lamu, in Kenya, yes.
I mean, that's the Lamu. I was like, now I need to go and see Lamu because of her.
Yes.
And I think that was what she was going for with her move from abroad, coming back home, seeing the opportunities that there are, and the fact that she saw that this is something that I can contribute to. This is my home.
Yeah.
And how she saw the leadership opportunities and bringing people in to work with her was so amazing.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that she was so, connected. When you listen to her, you see how connected she is to what she's saying.
Yeah.
And she's able to say, I remember a part where she say, Taka, give me a space. Let me talk a little bit more about Lamu. Which was,
I love that. I love that. Yes,
which shows that she was really, really connected to that. And I love. So those were my key highlights.
Going back to Umrah, remember, I think we've entitled that episode, and folks, again, it's one of the earlier ones in this season, the Insider Outsider. And I think that's what I really appreciated in terms of the perspective she brought in. In terms of, for many of us, we feel like we are outsiders, we don't totally fit in.
Exactly.
But yet, I think what I learned from that conversation with her are the kinds of strategies you can employ to still be influential as a leader, even though for whatever reason you are perceived as an outsider. So that was one. Another one that I really enjoyed was the one with Dr. John Mugu. That was the one on masculinity and how it affects leadership on the continent. I have to admit that was a difficult one for me. It was difficult for me because the idea came from a conversation that John and I had during a coffee break, during one of the things I was facilitating for his organization, Zizi. And so it wasn't a fully formed idea. It was just a sense that we knew that there is something here about the leadership we're seeing on the continent is highly influenced by the ideas of masculinity. And so kind of, I think in that episode, we fleshed that out in terms of what that looked. So it was almost like treading and exploring what that looked like. And thank you, John, for being vulnerable and sharing in that episode. But I just loved it. And I think there's a lot more work that we can start to do around there, because we don't show up as leaders from nowhere. We're shaped by these gendered cultural norms, and that impacts how we practice leadership and how we show up. So that was a good one for me.
And it's good because now there's a lot of conversation about masculinity and what it is, and what it's aimed to achieve. And so it was also good listening and knowing how other colleagues see masculinity different, and especially from a man.
Yes.
That was also interesting to learn.
So that was good. So have we covered a lot of the key ones?
We have covered a lot of the key ones.
Right. So folks, those were some of the highlights. Again, if you've missed any, do recap. But as I mentioned, we just didn't have guests. We also had the nuts and bolts that I did with you and we did with Dr. Gillian. So those were interesting. And I can tell you the ones that we see that you really loved. There were two that we saw that, actually maybe three. There was one that was around managing your ego as a leader. That one we seemed to get lots of feedback because I think there's a conversation there. It's almost like a thread we need to pull on, and not just about your ego, but there was something around your worthiness. So there's something around the inner work, and watch this space, because I think Busara is going to be doing some work around how do you do the inner work as a leader. So that was a nuts and bolts that we seem to get lots of positive feedback on. Thank you. And then it seemed there was a bunch that we did in the beginning around saying no, tips for leaders who do too much, and the rested leader. And it seems like all of y'all are exhausted. So there seemed to be lots of resonance with that one. So thank you for all that positive feedback. And really, again, it's encouraging you to keep letting us know what are you enjoying, what's resonating. It helps us ensure that we are on, we're really on tap in terms of the kind of guests we're bringing on and the leadership issues that we're sharing on this podcast.
And I think we really, really enjoy the engagement from all of you. And I think that, Taka, there are some people we need to say thank you to. Special thank you to for their feedback and contribution.
Yes. I want to send some special shout outs to a few sisters who I know. And you see, there might be some of you who have been listening consistently, but we don't know. So if you know, we'd also give you shout outs. But the ones who have at least let me know they are consistent. Catherine Engman here in Ghana. Yay! Thank you for being such a loyal listener. Françoise Mudute, right in Togo Lome. Thank you, Françoise. Merci, ma soeur, for being such a really loyal listener. Ashanat Okile in Kampala, Uganda. Thank you. You wrote me a special note to say how much you're enjoying it. I had no idea. Thank you so much, my sister. So again, if you listen regularly, we want to give you a shout out. We want to recognize that. Connect with us, on busara-africa.com, our website, or connect with me on LinkedIn or any of our social media, Busara Africa. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on LinkedIn, Busara Africa. Let us know.
Yes, and I also have one shout out to one person who said, he just said, he watched it once, he was like, no, Robert, this should be on TV and on radio. And I want to call out Fisher Kofi, who was saying, no, Robert, I think this should be on TV. So if TV people are listening, we are happy to have you take us on and to collaborate with you and share this with a broader audience on your platform. So please, and Fisher, thank you for giving us that feedback.
Thank you, Fisher.
Yes. So Taka, again, now, where are we going?
Season 3, folks. Season 3. What can you expect? So season 3 promises to be an exciting lineup. We have a very exciting lineup of guests. So please look out for that. Some really interesting nuts and bolts, tackling a lot of what we're hearing. I mean, in our practice at Busara, in terms of through our coaching, from our training, the things we're hearing you grapple with, leadership transitions, managing boundaries, dealing with millennials and Gen
Zs. Yes.
AI. What is leadership and artificial intelligence? How do we deal with that? So stay tuned for season 3, really exciting lineup of guests and nuts and bolts. But also let us know. We're so open. If there's some topics you're like, hey guys, we need to talk about this, because I think a key thing for us is that there are lots of podcasts out there, but we want to make sure that our podcast is speaking to the African context, the realities that you're dealing with. So do let us know if there are any specific topics or issues you want us to cover.
Exactly. And I want to take this opportunity to encourage you to listen. I think one of the best ways you can go on your runs, I listen when I'm going for my jogging, so I'm in the gym. When you're in the gym, you're alone, you're doing your own thing, you can be listening to this. Look, even if you're a lecturer teaching on leadership, you can recommend this to your students to listen, and as a case study, I think it's a good material that we can use for a lot of the work that we do. So please take advantage of this and listen and give us feedback. We want to hear from you. When you go to your platform, click on your like, write a comment, because it goes a long way helping us to collect this information, to review what we do and give you the best of what we have. So please do well and give us feedback. And we are going to come up soon again with the season 3. Look out in the week of April, in the first week of April, and you would hear that we are back online with all these amazing and beautiful things that we have put together just for you. So please come with us, and I just want to say thank you now.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
so
We'll be off for a
much.
short break,
Yes.
but as Robert said, we'll see you first week in April.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Hello, wonderful leader. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the podcast. I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. If you want more of the lessons, experiences, and nuggets for effective leadership, join our amazing platform for leaders, the African Leaders Circle. Learn more at www.busara-africa.com. And if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe and share with other amazing leaders. See you soon. Ciao.